Check. Check. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I do these in the morning with you in the morning so that we can all try to get those synapses firing at the same time. Get the brain active, thinking early in the morning. I'm not a morning person. My family and my close friends and relatives will tell you stories about how evil I am in the morning. Just pure evil. My brother could tell you stories. My mother could tell you stories. My stepfather could tell you stories. Of course, he was pretty evil in the mornings. I'd say pretty evil as well, because he had to get up at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:30 sometimes for 35 years. And hell, if you wasn't up, boy, you better get up, bang on the door. It was interesting the way he would do it. He would bang on the door real loud and then stop and then leave the door alone for 5-10 minutes maybe, and then come back and bang on it real hard again, like just enough for you to get back to sleep. Boom! And he would keep that up, and it would put me in this like state of just rage. And then he'd open up the door and throw ice water or something, or he would drip ice cubes into my earlobes, which is a weird way to wake up. All right. So, I was 1 minute late starting this stream. We had a good time this weekend. It was a short trip. But, you know, it was a decent trip. And I got a bunch of footage now to go through from Off-Key Films, and got to see my kids. And I had a beautiful arm candy. We went and saw a new theater, the South Lake Theater in Lake Charles. State-of-the-art theater. We're checking it out for maybe filming. So that was cool. And visited with an old friend of mine, Charles Lyons. But I got some new stuff already since I've been back, so I'll start the intro and we will start digging through and self-analyze. Make sure you got your coffee or your Theraflu in my case. Tobacco products, cannabis products, whatever. If you're at work, maybe not the cannabis products or alcohol, although I can't judge. I used to drink at work all the time. It was kind of part of the job. If Shanna was here, she would probably nod her head. Yep, all attorneys drink. So, and they drink on the job. They drink to go into court. Slobbered. It's crazy. All right, check this out. Hopefully it doesn't blow your eardrums out. All right. That's good. Here we are. Scene 3. Here is all of the videos. And it's getting kind of hard to... Like, I don't know if I can do 300 videos of me doing self-analysis. So some of them we may just thumb through and go find parts. And I might, one thing I could do is clip out a bunch of things and start doing the YouTube clips and all that. But I have, let's just add it up real quick. I want to know once and for all. I can refer to this stream when I want to know. So creative processing in music was something that I would do because this was a supportive community, and it was supportive in more than one way. There was moral support, and later, when the shit hit the fan, there was financial support, and it was before the aftermath, and it was GoFundMe. And just a few people were able to help me tremendously. I had medical issues, I had legal issues, I had domestic issues, all kind of issues, and it was very hard to, that's 86 items. It was very hard to get back on my feet. Alright, so 86 plus 18. Personal public videos, 85. Some people thought I deleted my videos. No, I don't do that. I'm an archivist. And that's plus 26. That's up to 200 already. Halfway through those. That's a new folder. And I actually already did the What If Scientologist series. So I could go through and see and clip parts that are interesting. Save myself some time. 246. And then another 44. So, yeah. 290 videos. I don't know if I'm going to do 290 self-analysis. I hate to break it to you. Well, what I can do is review them and bring them up, different parts, different videos, and clip them out. That's probably the most realistic thing to, the most rational thing to do. Because, Monday morning, not everyone wants, I know, myself included, I don't always want a Monday morning unpack what it is I was unpacking and dealing with at that time. So, here is some, what are we going to do? This is creative processing. I was just doing music and talking about Scientology. So let's start it with this is a chromatic meditation. What is this? It's very dark. This guitar was a loaner from Sonia Jane, and from Lake Charles. And when I was living in the studio, one of the studios, I didn't have a guitar. It's funny. I lived in a studio. I had access to a guitar. I didn't have a guitar, though. So she loaned me this guitar, and it came with me to Sacramento, California, when I moved in with Cynthia. Why did I move in with Cynthia? Well, there was I know that wasn't a question, but that was in my mind. Why did I move across the country again to Sacramento? There was a domestic incident where I threatened my stepfather's life in the context of him threatening to get custody of my nephew, to abuse him, because when he says, "Oh, I'll get that boy and fix him," that's what that means. That's what it meant for me. That's what it meant for my brother Mark and my mother. He gonna fix you, and he will. He will. If you let him. It's the same kind of coercive control in domestic situations as it is in cultural situations. And it kind of took me a while to understand that. And just as much the stories that you can hear, you can learn from, as the cultural ones, the private ones, the domestic ones. So I threatened him with a knife, and then I threw the knife in the ground, and I told him that he should kill me. So it was a suicidal homicidal ideation thing. I got put into the mental ward, and but the thing is that I called a therapist after I did it, and that's when I started going back to therapy. I'm like, whoa, that's not normal. Regardless of the things that he did, which were, despicable, I didn't have control over myself to not do that. Hey, witness, what up? So I ended up in Sacramento for a couple of reasons, but one of those reasons was for my mental health. The other reason was for a beautiful woman that I met who treated me nice and gave me space and has been supportive since I've met her. All right, so that's just me grinding around, meditating on E and C. All right, cool. Do I have any other meditations? That seems like a good thing to do in the morning. Meditation in D. Oh, it's bad quality video. Bad quality. Okay, that's just getting too bad. But, you know, that was at the studio. So I was living in the studio there. It's a small little building. Staying away from my stepdad. Let's see here. There we go. This will pick it up a little bit. This was when I went to Jackson in 2017 after I left Lake Charles. I was wondering if I was going to go faster because it kept going faster and faster and faster. All right. So, yeah, in between talking about Scientology stuff, I would do these videos, music video, and sometimes with other people. Like this was a live. That's Brian Lee Fontenot. He's a country singer and former rodeo rider in Texas. And here's my cousin Moon Manuel. His daddy played with Merle Haggard for 35 years. He's a killer Nashville cat. There's me dressed up like a Gussie. And then I can't remember the drummer's name. I'm sorry, drummer. And I don't remember who was on bass neither. There's a good one on here somewhere. Woo! Watch this. First thing in the morning. Trip out. Okay. Oh, empty glass. I'm gonna get flash this. Can't play that. Okay. Don't want a copyright strike. Here's me with the Louisiana Hellbenders before Ross died. And, oh, damn it. There we go. Yeah, this was just a rehearsal. I was living in New Orleans at my friend Ashley's house on her couch, trying to get medical help. And the bassist in this band is a doctor, and he helped me a lot getting referrals because I wasn't sure if I still had cancer. And you will recognize this tune from the broadcasts that we did, that me and Doug did. This was the intro song for Backflash. So yeah, that was a rehearsal. It was our first rehearsal, and we had booked a tour for September, but Ross got sick, and sadly, it was a drug-related overdose. This is mostly the music stuff, so we got plenty of stuff to go through on that, and then initial deprogramming. I've already covered this one. I said we were going to do Scientology definitions today, so we're going to go into here and find definitions. It's going to be, let's just search definition. And also ICANN, which was the International Cult Awareness Network, which was a group that I'll describe in the video that my biological father worked with. And yeah, it's kind of funny. I play some music in the beginning, but it's kind of hack. So I'm probably gonna skip through that. It's a short video, 13 minutes. So I'm just getting used to this whole new rig here, and play a little bit of Big Blue Diamond. And, Lord have mercy. There we go. And then I got a surprise for you. Alright, stay. There we go. And at the studio, the engineer's wife, a while back when she found out I was a Scientologist, I think I was still a Scientologist, or I think I was in the process of becoming a not Scientologist. She wanted to read some of this stuff, and the only thing I would give her was a technical dictionary so she could see how ridiculous it was. And she was interested in the ethics book. So we found those cleaning the studio out. It had to have been around 2013, because when I gave this book away, that's when I stopped using the language. So what I'm explaining here is that I had a friend I was building a studio with. He had reached out to me after years and was like, "Hey, need your help building a studio. I know that you know how to build them, so I'm paying for it. Come help, you know." I'm like, okay. And apparently I had some Scientology books with me, and she saw that, and she was like, are you a Scientologist? And I was like, yeah. I mean, so it had to have been around that time, and she was interested in learning about it, so I let her borrow. And looking back, this is bad. A bad idea. Start handing out Scientology stuff to people who are, you know, she had a psychology major, and I don't know, with that particular material, the ethics material and the technical dictionary, I don't think it was a wise thing to do, to just give somebody. But, you know, I did it. And when I opened it up, oh my God, so many definitions that I remember. Like, this stuff was every day. Oh, but I had stopped speaking the language. I didn't have my dictionary around anymore. So, in a way, that helped. Language for me. So I'm going to just go over some of these ridiculous terms and show you what they mean. And, unfortunately, he ripped so much off that it's, when you get out of the cult, sometimes it's hard for me to distinguish, like, is that cult shit or is that real? Because some of it, it's ambiguous. There's nothing inherently bad about the definition sometimes. Okay. Big one here related to Dianetics is A equals A equals A, means anything equals anything equals anything equals anything equals anything. And the definition is, this is the way the reactive mind thinks irrationally, identifying thoughts, people, objects, experience, statements with another where little or no similarity exists. A equals A equals A. And this is something that they'll use on staff, where if you're not behaving the way they want, they'll say you're being reactive, or you are letting your bank run your case. It's a form of gaslighting. It can be used as a form of gaslighting, like, you're not seeing it as it truly is. You're seeing it as A equals A equals A, when clearly A is not equaling A in whatever the given scenario. You might be able to think of an example. If not, I'll give an example. If you can't think of one, write a comment. I'll give you an example. So one of them that I learned yesterday from Cynthia was lazy learning in the LDS church. If it's the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, is if you're not going to the source, and I'm referring to Scientology there, where they, it's not source. You can't even, verbal tech means to quote LRH. You can't do that. That's verbal tech. Even if you know it verbatim, it's still verbal tech. So you have to show them the source. And whatever sources exists in the LDS church, I would assume that, the A equals A equals A is a sort of parallel or similar idea to A equals A, meaning your reactive mind, if you're not going straight to the source and getting your information from that and operating with that in mind, then you are letting your reactive mind, which I assume everyone here knows what that is supposed to mean. You're viewing the world through your trauma lens, and that makes a certain degree of sense, but to replace your trauma lens with a lens that was like source, or the teachings of the LDS church and Joe Schmo, whatever his name is actually worse, because you're just covering up. You're taking your trauma lens and you're putting another lens in front of it, and then you get all this distorted reality, like Mitch says, reality distortion field. I fucking love that term, reality distortion field, because that's what it really is. Cynthia says the LDS prophet and leaders have done the thinking for you and have given you an approved website for information. Right, so it's source. That's source. You refer to that. You refer to it only and directly. And there's aberrate, all these aberration terms. Um, I'm just going to be just jumping around here. Book and bottle, opening procedure by duplication. Its goal is the separating of time moment to moment. This is done by getting a pre-clear to duplicate the same action over and over again with two dissimilar objects. Opening procedure by duplication. Bypass charged. Bypass charge. Opening procedure rating of time moment to moment. This is done by getting a pre-clear to duplicate the same action over and over again with two dissimilar objects. Okay, so what would be the point of something like opening procedure by duplication? I'm no psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I took Psych 101 and 102. And I've read a moderate amount of Steve Hassan's and Margaret Singer and Lipton's works about coercive control groups, and I've studied in Psych 101 you have to, in 102 you have to study the Asch conformity experiments and the Milgram's experiments, and so opening procedure by duplication. Well, the end phenomenon that I just described, which is the end product, is its goal is the separating of time moment to moment. Separating of time moment to moment. This is done by getting a pre-clear to duplicate the same action over and over again with two dissimilar objects. So you hear a lot about in other like religious stuff, like being present, be in the presence, be present. Presence. Eckhart Tolle talks about presence. Hubbard talks about present time. Live in the now. Stuff like that. So this is a present time, and how it relates to opening procedure by duplication is to use one of LRH's own words, an aberration, meaning a deviation or a distortion or a misrepresentative concept, or a concept that's being applied incorrectly. The separating time moment to moment, brass tacks, when you see something or experience something that is abusive, you're able to immediately snap back into present time. And that's really and the thing is opening procedure by duplication is so seemingly harmless at first glance, but because of our brains and how we can assign and objectify things, this is just my own aspersions. You can replace that with people. You can replace it with other ideas. But, like, you're screaming at a book and bottle, or you tell the book and bottle to move, or you get the book or the bottle to acknowledge you. As crazy as that sounds. And then you give commands to the book and the bottle so that it duplicates it. It is a way to normalize. It's a very subtle way and just a layer of the normalization process of what goes on that you may see to condition you to snap back into present time. Opening procedure by duplication. Bypass charged. Bypass charge. Bypass charge. A Mormon and a Scientologist walk into a bar. Who is it? Nico Rasu, a very thoughtful bottle. This is a common one. A mental energy or mass that has been re-stimulated in some way in an individual. What this means is being triggered. When you get triggered, it's not being triggered. You have bypass charge. buttered all over the universe. This was a common one. So an example of bypass charge would be someone on staff had been assaulted or something, or someone in the public had been sexually assaulted or something, and they went to an ethics officer, and they were made to feel that because in Scientology you are cause for everything. You're cause over life, you're cause over matter, energy, space, and time. So anything that happens to you is especially bad things. Like you are forced by the ethics officer and other people to look at it as, how did you cause this? That's the whole thing with the Masterson case, is that these girls were initially, instead of dealing with law enforcement that can handle and is trained to handle these sorts of investigators, sex crime investigators, are trained to handle these things. What instead they got was, how did you cause this? Let's take a look at that. Look at how you may have caused this. And the typical procedure is for them to write down all of how they may have caused it. Like, it starts out as how you may have caused it. And it's pushed until you have a, quote, cognition that, you actually did cause it. And when you write that down and admit to it, then that's in your own handwriting. It's anecdotal, and it's also under heavy duress, but they do have your fucking written statement. And so the bypass charge would come after that, when they realize, no, that's not right. I have bypass charge. And the way that an ethics officer would handle that would just be to cycle endlessly and to do repetitive questioning, more interrogation style training routines, employ the training routines, be there comfortably and receive communication, be there comfortably and submit communication, deliver the communication properly, make sure it's received, acknowledge communications, repeat questions, and maintain control. TR0 bullbait is the first initial step towards 8C, which is infinite control. So these, ethics officers, interrogators, are the ones that are the best at doing that, or enjoy doing that. Some of them enjoy doing that, dominating other people. We use a lot of this terminology. It means that someone's viewpoints are like stuck all over the place. Like people who we referred commonly to people who were schizophrenic as buttered all over the universe. Not necessarily that they were crazy, but that they had so many viewpoints. Amy, that's correct. That's exactly what I was just reiterating with talking about ethics and bypass charge and A equals A, whatever. So you'd be told, as a being, as a spiritual being, you are cause over life, matter, energy, space, and time, and therefore anything that happens is because of you. Anything that's good that happens is because of you, and anything that's bad that happens is because of you. But Scientology gives you sort of an edge. This is what is essentially the idea of having more good than bad. because you have the correct technology to apply. But in the situation that I also just described with Danny Masterson, something may sound like fine or okay, or like, okay, whatever, that's what you believe, in that context. But when you put it into the context of sexual assault, no, doesn't work. And the next definition is buttered all over the universe. Scattered out. Schizophrenic. It means that someone's viewpoints are like stuck all over the place. Like people who are, we referred commonly to people who were schizophrenic as buttered all over the universe. Not necessarily that they were crazy, but that they had so many viewpoints scattered out amongst space and time. This is an interesting definition and application, because psychologists, psychiatrists also have a very keen ability to talk to schizophrenics and dissociative identity disorder patients, and can be effective in communicating with them and getting like progress, or in Scientology they call it case gain. But the basic idea of a buttered all over the universe is that you as a spiritual being, a Thetan, have vastly different viewpoints, and you can't make sense of any of them, and so you're occupying all of them, which is sort of like, I guess, schizophrenia, because you have, or dissociative identity disorder, we have alters, and these different voices or alters or entire personalities or viewpoints, or split pieces of your personality. And I gotta say, truthfully, that Scientologists generally handle those type of people, from my own experience, okay? From living in, this was in LA around Melrose and Pac Base, where there are some, it's Los Angeles, there's some people out on the street that are, probably not mentally well, screaming at lampposts and stuff, for long periods of time. There was this guy who would scream at this electric pole, and then there was it seemed like a Vietnam veteran, but he was so traumatized still. It was the year 2000. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he would talk to people that weren't there. And I would sit with him on the bench, at the bus bench, and I started at what they call a low gradient, and just sitting, just doing my TR0, and getting comfortable in the space around him. And I would do that for a few minutes, and then get up and leave, and just sort of slowly approach him so that he would be comfortable, I would be comfortable, and eventually he talked to me. Now, I don't remember what he said, all of it, but there were moments of lucidity. There were fleeting moments of lucidity. And however, if you just walked up to him and said, "Hey," boy, you wouldn't get any kind of lucid thought. You'd get some kind of something else. So, and psychologists are good at doing that too. So psychiatrists as well. I've seen it in the wards. I've seen it in the practices. So, interesting little side note of something. I think Juliana wants to take back all of the stolen information, and to me that's one of them, because just being there with somebody, sometimes someone that's that traumatized, that just can't fit into society anymore, Having a human being, because I mean, war has got to be. I mean, it's dehumanizing. You see, if you're right up in the front and you are the dehumanized, to the point of, murdering lots of people and like indiscriminately. I bet it's a strange feeling to have a human come sit next to you. Anyways, buttered all over the universe. Clear, that's a long definition. We're not going to go with that. Confront. Well, here's the definition of confront from the dictionary that they have. Like the action of being able to face something. Right. So that's another thing that is, could be taken back. Just having do what you fear, because confront, all that means is like facing your fear. I mean, that's really all it means. It's used in all kind of different contexts. You need to they'll tell you need to confront your parents. You need to confront your friends. You need to, no. You make the decision on what it is you're ready to face. And you alone make that choice. You don't let some ethics officer tell you, you got to go confront this. And shove it up their ass. So, contact assist, blah, blah. Cycle. Very important definition, cycle. Beginning to end, from the beginning to the conclusion of an intentional action. A span of time with a beginning and an end. A section of the totality of time with a beginning and an end. The beginningless and endless time one can set out periods which do have a beginning and an end insofar as action is concerned. Word clear that. Sandy Erkin Powers. I read that weird. I just made you think of Surge. People had tried to talk to him. He was afraid. I imagine. Based on what I've watched so far, which I have, there's so much stuff to watch nowadays. It's crazy. But that's a good thing. It's a good problem to have. And it is a problem because I want to, like Laura, I have not, she's been doing streams all the time. Alex, I haven't caught up on Alex's stuff. I don't know what Doug's been doing. I watch Aaron just for sort of like the daily brief. And I'll occasionally click on Tony's Substack stuff from my email. But, it's hard to keep up with everything. And yeah, I'm actually a little afraid to watch Surge's stuff because I know that name. And I'm afraid that I'm going to listen to some of his stories and know some of these people. I mean, there are still people that I know that have children in the Sea Org that are in Flag or at Pac Base. And I can't say their names. They wouldn't be able to see their children. Excuse me. It would be at risk. So, good comment. Glad that there's law nerds in here. It makes me feel a little more secure in being, at least thorough in my attempts to get my thoughts out of my head in an understandable and somewhat articulate way at 10:52 in the morning. Degraded being, which is what Mike's regraded being is based off of the term.
Degraded beings, and I was called this a lot, degraded beings find any instruction painful, as they have been painfully indoctrinated.
And when I accent the words, that means it's all in bold. He liked to do that a lot. And what's funny is that when I got out of Scientology and I reconnected with my attorney mentors, Steve Moore and Leslie Berman, they write like that. And I was constantly sending them back their own text and like correcting it and removing the capitalization. I'm like, see, doesn't that read better? Like just little pieces. Like, why do you have to do that? Steve told me, he's like, man, I have to write legal documents all day. I need emphasis. I can't do that in legal stuff. So if you want shorter emails, just let me write that way. It's funny.
With violent measures in the past. They therefore alter is, which means change, any order or don't comply.
So we're talking about degraded beings and how they just can't follow an order. And everything that they're doing is going to be changed. It's like the telephone game. So if you give a degraded being a command, it better not be something that you expect to get done properly. And if someone's like calling out that you're being degraded or that you are a degraded being, then your situation changes drastically. Because generally it's like passed around, hey, he's fucking DB. And you can't be expected to do anything right. So that's generally when you get assigned, what they call messed work, which is just slave labor.
A degraded being is not a suppressive person, as he can have case gain, but he is so PTS that he works for suppressives only. He is sort of a super continual PTS beyond the reach, really, of a simple search and discovery, and handled only at sect.
So a search and discovery is whenever you have someone go into an ethics office and find out if they're PTS, a potential trouble source, and locate the suppressive person. And from that point, once you locate the person, and it's very similar to fair game, like, if one can't be found, it will be manufactured. So fair game is not only a policy that's applied broadly against the enemies of Scientology, but integrated into and adapted to apply to internal people as well, through means of manipulation of their environment and people in it that may be hostile towards Scientology. So fair game extends into the organization itself in this regard.
Section 3 OT course. The Wall of Fire. Xenu. Degraded beings, taking a cue from SP associates, instinctively resent, hate, and seek to obstruct any person in charge of anything or any big being.
Jesus Christ. Serge Obolinski from Aftermath. Blown for good. Dead. He's the one who was homeless for 10 years on the same street as the org. People tried to talk to him and he was afraid of them. Yeah, no shit, he'd be afraid. I would assume he was trafficked. I don't know. Yeah. Terrifying. What's he gonna do? I can relate. I can't say I have experienced what either one of those guys or any other. That's the thing. Any other survivor, we all have our own legitimate experience in trauma. It's a trauma community. So I can't say that I know what his situation was like, but I can understand the trepidation of talking about it big time. I think that's pretty universal.
That's something that I want to look up. Big being. Let's see. Big being. Well, what do you know?
He was not trafficked, was mistreated, and abandoned after the accident where he lost his hands. He lost his hands, Jesus. And there's 2 surges. Maybe that's why, and they were at Flag, maybe that's why I recognize the names. And it's possible that, you play musical chairs. It's funny that whole the HBO special where they talk about the musical chairs in the hole. Sometimes the org board or where you're posted and what you're doing is like musical chairs. They'll just tell you to do something and you're like, that's not my post. It's like, do it, get it done, make it go right. Not knowing who to trust is scary. Yeah, sure. It's sad to say, but I that's why I went to YouTube, because I really couldn't trust. It's not that I couldn't trust certain people in my life. I have immense amount of trust and loyal friends and stuff, but with this specific issue, I don't even know if it was a matter of trust, but it kind of was. I couldn't even imagine me being them and trusting that I wasn't crazy telling them the things that I was going to tell them that I ended up telling YouTube, if that makes any sense.
There is none for big being. I wonder if that was added. Demon circuits, ethical conduct, ethics.
A big being is was not in there, but this was a term that was thrown around, and like if Jim Hamry had like 180 grand on GI on a Monday, just gross income, like it was almost like the Kakan status, which is like an untouchable person. Like if their stats are so high that they've surpassed power or whatever via the formula, then they wouldn't necessarily be called a big being, but it was sort of like a glow. Like, everyone knows that this person achieved some massive target. Then that person kind of had some liberties to play the king in some certain situations. So it's a pecking order. It's very paramilitary. So you could, swab the decks, go scrub the floor with normally something that only an ethics officer would be able to tell you to do. Someone who is in very high standing and considered, just in power. Like, it's like, don't get in that Thetan's way. And so they get their way because of their cause over matter, energy, space, time, and life.
Fixated person rundown. Let's see here. Grief charge. So this is their dissociation from your emotions. Grief charge. It's not grieving, it's not grief, it's a grief charge. An outburst of tears that may continue for a considerable time in the session, after which the preacher feels greatly relieved. This is occasioned by the discharge of grief or painful emotion from a secondary.
Mind my blues. Why is the success measured in money and not in the amount of planet cleared? Well, I'll answer that the best that I can. And this is, to the best of my memory, how it was explained to me. The Church of Scientology licenses the technology from the Religious Technology Center, which was founded by, L. Ron Hubbard. This is what I was told, right? The truth of it. In order for clearing of the planet, which is the stated ultimate goal, to occur, people have expenses. They have to live. And services, GI, services that you charge for, GI, is measured so that that process of clearing can continue without any excess financial burden or housing burden. In other words, we want to pay our people. So, because they're volunteering their skills and their time to clear the planet. So, GI is a main measurement as to how well you're clearing the planet in that mode of thinking. I hope that answers your question. My blues, and welcome. I saw you jump in earlier. Dawn says realizing you can't trust someone, can't trust anyone is devastating. Well, yeah. Amy Jean says, well, you can't talk to everyone about everything, even if you trust them. Yeah. Some people are better to talk to about certain things than others. Don't go talk to a refrigerator guy about a car problem. Yeah, Amy. They want to pay their... This is what I'm saying. This is what I was told. I was trying to answer the question from how it would be said from someone in the church. It'd be like, oh, well, this is why, because that's a valid question. What about clearing the planet, Less money, more clearing. The more they try to explain themselves, the less they make sense. Yes, but some of the definitions that I've gone over already sort of paint a picture of the type of coercion. It's very subtle in that reality distortion field that Mitch talks about. If you even have an ounce or a drop of idealism in you at all, then it can seem reasonable.
There's the KRC triangle. Rude's Messed Universe. This is actually going to help me a lot for writing the series that I want to do, which I still want to do. I don't just say shit and not do it. Sometimes it goes on the back burner for a long time, but
sometimes it goes on the back burner for a long time.
I was kind of waiting on getting this back because there's so much terminology here that I want to use, and so far as I've been told, I can use the terminology so long as I attribute it. So, because it's fair use.
Nikarasu says it's a delicate balance of keeping the tech making money and making other people make money. It is a delicate balance. Very well understood. Dawn said, as the chief Sea Org cook, when I didn't have gravy and staff asked for meat blood, and I gave them the blood, I was then a big being. Wow. You were a cook. How disappointing. It's like, do you enjoy cooking? I'm curious if you still enjoy cooking. Because I feel like some of the things that we enjoy, or that I enjoyed most in life, were just sort of robbed of all joy after. Very cynical. Amy Jean, that's the thing. When they say the basic things, they can make sense. But the further they get, the more convoluted and nonsensical it seems. You still enjoy cooking, Dawn? That's great. That's good to know. Nothing like cooking and jamming and making food. I love it. I love cooking.
Got a whole book of Scientology definitions, and I got the whole. It's pretty much. There's not much left of what I've got, and the only reason I'm keeping it is for educational purposes for the general public that may have a family member involved in Scientology, and cult awareness in general, since Scientology took down ICANN, which was a very helpful resource that my cousin, who my biological father contacted, was able to locate some of the old ICANN resources, because they had already been sacked and bullied out of existence by the church. So the packet of information that I found at my father's burned down home was actually from ICANN, and it didn't have information on just Scientology. It had
Mind my blues. That comment just now, robbed of joy. You think one can get that joy back? Yes, absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. You have to take it. I feel like I just have to take it back. Like Juliana, take it back. No, music has always been a thing, even when I was in Scientology. And that was essentially a prerequisite that I gave them, and they didn't take it seriously because they thought they could just route music right out of my life. But I found ways, and Travis found ways to work it into the mission. And they did say that was partly our job, but really they just wanted the mission. They really could give two shits about the music. So, reclaiming joy, yeah. I mean, there were some years where I was very inspired and I wrote a lot, but I wouldn't say that it was joyful, right? It was more of even all the way up until this recent record, a lot of it was purging. A lot of it was like purging emotions. And then once that's out, and there's moments where it's really joyful. For me, it's usually when I'm playing with other people and I can have that interpersonal musical dynamic that is nonverbal. It's really I close my eyes. I'm thinking about it and I close my eyes because that's how I usually play. So my brother plays, and it's blissful joy and bliss. So yeah. And I guess it depends on what you struggle with. But I would say that by reclaiming joy, there's a great book I could refer you to. It's called The Power of Regret, How Looking Backwards Helps Us Move Forward. It's a short book, but to the point of feeling joy for things again. For me, it was going back and thinking about, experiencing, processing the things that were not joyful, those things that made it possible to enjoy things again, or even to be aware that joy exists, that joy can exist. So I don't know if you have access to a public library or not, but it's a relatively new book, should be on the shelves. It's called The Power of Regret, How Looking Backwards Can Help Us Move Forward. Or you could just search for The Power of Regret. Witness, quote, has incurred and continues to incur loss of enjoyment of life. Damages are real. I don't know what that quote is from, but yeah, they are real. Dawn says to Mind My Blues, yes, one can get their joy back. You just need to face the pain rather than deny it. That's kind of, you summed it up perfectly, Dawn. And then Amy says, it may be joy in other things different from before the trauma, but it's out there somewhere. You just have to watch for it. Yeah, it's another great summary, because it's there, like recognizing that it is even there. You just have to watch for it. Yeah. Great. That helps. Good. I love that. Okay. And then when we learn, and Dawn continues, when we learn to feel and hold our pain, we experience it even more heightened joy than before the pain. Yeah. And the witness says that was a quote from a ex-Scientology legal complaint. Nice, dude. I know. I've been seeing you in everything that I hop into, all the chats and stuff, because I've been trying to hop in the chats just to say hi and catch a little bit. This weekend I was, traveling, so and even Saturday, because we left Saturday, I didn't get to catch most of Mark Turi's stream, where he did PowerPoint presentations, and with the Nerdy Bunch. But yeah, I've been seeing you everywhere, so I know that you've probably been just absorbing all this stuff. Good. You've been on my mind, Blues, since you said that you made a pretty significant change in your life. And you say, I think I'm currently in a good purge phase. I'm just overwhelmed and cannot see the light just yet. Totally get it. I have some videos where the light was so far away, just black. And yeah, big hugs to you, Mind My Blues. Faux show. That's what we're here for. I don't care how many people are here. But this kind of shit right there, that's where it's at. Yeah, I saw that Turi is starting his channel, Witness, and that is fantastic. We talked about doing some stuff. There, World War II Museum is here, and I know he's a big history buff, so I talked to him about going over there and taking some pictures for him to maybe put... Well, I'll edit it together for him, but he could put together something. He's been doing a lot of, professional writing and whatnot in college and getting his master's and all that, so could be cool.
Information on other cults too. So since there's...
So I was talking about ICANN and my biological father, which I have a picture of him on my desktop right now. He went through a lot of rigmarole to find information about Scientology back in the early 2000s before, the OT materials were just broadly distributed. And my cousin helped him put together all of the resources that ICANN had up to that point. Later, when I moved back home after his home burned down, my dad's home had burned down. I found a manila folder full, and this was so weird. This is gonna sound unbelievable, but I went over to the slab, and I found a manila folder full of ICANN documents about Scientology, and it was in perfect condition. I don't know how that could have happened, and I burned them because I was so upset. It was like 2007, and I was like upset because I was a Scientologist still in my head. But yeah, he was very resourceful, intelligent dude. He found what he needed to try to get us out, and he planted little mustard seeds, and they grew into what they are now. And here I am talking about it. And I think he's always with me. He's on my desktop, at least.
Limited resources, but they're growing. Leah Remini's show, like more people speaking out. I'll get the project done. It's just, life's crazy. I got my car, working on a special video for the GoFundMe because it was, it completely funded. I mean, I couldn't have asked for couldn't ask for more. So
I had a GoFundMe at the time. The divorce and the cancer, medical problems, torn Achilles, loss of employment. Because I tore my Achilles, I couldn't be a postman anymore. Before the aftermath, and after I did my interview with Aaron, before the Aftermath Foundation, and after I did my interview with Aaron, I was sort of, it was known to some people in the community what I was experiencing. But I tried not to talk too much about it. You may know some people who've had similar things where they have cancer or something. You don't know about it. They just don't want to post about it. Some people are like that, and I hate asking for help. But I was urged by a couple of people to start a GoFundMe, and it went on the supporters of the Leah Remini site. And what it was for a vehicle so that I could get from Lake Charles to New Orleans for my medical appointments. And it had funded, and I had a vehicle, and yeah. That was, pre-Aftermath Foundation. And I think one of the last sort of GoFundMes that Aaron and that community posted.
Thanks to everybody for that. And the video is going to be pretty cool, I think. I'm using a little bit of my creative stuff. Sometimes my videos are just straight up like this, and sometimes I'll put a little production effort into it. Also, I may have a job working with an old friend of mine doing basically cutting stuff.
So, Dawn, that necklace, yeah, I've had, believe it or not, I had this necklace the entire time I was living in Hollywood. The, it's easier to see on the screen. So that crucifix or cross was given to me by my uncle when I was doing the purification rundown. And there's another piece underneath it that is a St. Christopher for safe travel that my brother gave me. My brother Alan LaFleur gave me just, I don't know, a year earlier. And this chain that it's on, I've had it for 20, longer than that. 25 years, something like that. And I like I like the way it looks. You know.
My last name is Sawyer, so I should be able to cut some things. It doesn't require me to use my legs a lot. It's cutting a lot of wood and upper body stuff, so I should be okay. Assuming I drink enough water and all that. Make some cash. So, should be a lot more content coming soon. Indeed. Peace and love, and live long and prosper. Love you guys. Good night.
All right. Yeah. So, ICANN was destroyed by Scientology. It's bullshit. But, yeah. Whoa. How did all of that get in there? Let's change the view. List. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's all of them. Okay. Well, what are we going to end with here? I can do this. You're feeling very sleepy. Yeah, Nick, the Cult Awareness Network, International Cult Awareness Network. Yeah, they were able to destroy it at that time because they had that kind of power. They don't anymore. But it is a damn shame because they would be a huge lobbying asset, I think, at this point. I'm just wondering what happened. My folder here. Not responding. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so could play some music, I guess. It's Monday. Cover. You guys like U2? Led Zeppelin. These are covers, so I don't think they'll be flagged because it's not the actual audio. Well, there's some me playing on the street for some money. It's gonna rain here today. The weather it's only 90 degrees right now, and it's almost noon. We're under 120, 119. What is this? Turn the camera off. Do the exit stage left. Thanks for hanging out. Live long and prosper.